outside, go pee pee. You want to go pee pee? Switched it up today. Black socks. It is cold out here. And yes, that's the heater running. I don't mess around with our comfort. I just turned the heater on. Last night I sleep with the window open and the heater running. Because middle of the night the temperature really drops and Lefty will wake me up fidgeting around down there. So I just run the heater. When we go to bed, I turn it on. Just leave the window open. Very comfortable. I'm watching a video. Hold on. Lefty, it's like... Hey, don't nibble on my toes! It's like 30 degrees. Don't give me crazy eyes. Do not give me crazy eyes. So right now, outside, it is 36 degrees. So it's cold out. And what is it like inside the rig? It's, 7 a.m. The sun is just starting to come up out here. So it's still chilly. And we've had multiple days where we've been down in the upper 20s, mid and upper 20s here. So it's been cold. So how do we stay comfortable? Is it comfortable using the diesel heater? Yes, 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 it is. We went through some struggles. If you've been with the channel, you know that I run a diesel air heater. The first install of my diesel air heater, we had problems. I was using it incorrectly. I bought the 8 kilowatt, which is way too strong for this size rig. It's way too much heat. It was way too powerful. And because of that, I went in and fiddled around with the settings and messed it up and was running it way slower than it was supposed to be running. And actually it was chugging along, and I ran it incorrectly. I also was using that external fuel tank that it came with. I had it mounted to the back of the rig. This is going back over 2 years ago. And that heater, I had all kinds of trouble. I ruined a fuel pump. Then I ruined another fuel pump. And what I mean is they stopped working. They stopped pumping. And I think that it was because I think I was getting debris introduced in that external can. Even though the cap was always on, I did have to loosen the cap when I would run it, because the vent in the cap didn't function correctly. Dude, shooting video here. Give me a couple minutes. So that cap, I had to loosen it so that it could have some suction, or else the tank itself would squeeze in as the pump was sucking the fuel out of it. So I had the external tank, and I think that, because that's the only thing I can equate it to, is why those pumps went bad. Messing around with the settings, I don't think should have caused a problem. So that first heater didn't work well for us, and so I said, okay, I'm gonna fix this. So I swapped out the 8 kilowatt for a 5 kilowatt. Now I bought that heater, both of those. They were like $105 off of eBay. Now you can buy them off of Amazon, but they seem to be much more expensive on Amazon for whatever reason, and they're the exact same. Now the two that I bought, you know, they had different brand names on them, but like many things, they were the same items, just rebranded with different names. You know, they're all made in probably the same plants over across the ocean and just sold under a bunch of different names. So the second one that I got was, goodness, it was a 5 kilowatt, and I haven't messed with any of the settings. I now run it on temperature mode. That's another thing I want to mention. My first one, I was running on... Are you quite comfortable? Are you waking up? Huh? Are you waking up? Okay. The first one I was running on the Hertz mode, which is you're controlling how many clicks of the pump. The other way is to run it on temperature mode. You set it at a temperature, and the controller dictates the speed of the heater depending on what the temperature is. So I've run this one on temperature mode since I installed it, and I also tapped into my main fuel tank, you know, diesel truck. So I tapped into the main fuel tank. I have had 0 issues with this second heater install, and it's been over a year. We've used it a lot. I've been running it here this year. I've been running it recently every night for easily the last month, if not more. And sometimes during the day too. We've had some days where the high temperature was only 50 degrees and it was just chilly in here. And so I'd run the heater all day too. I've never run it like 24 hours straight, because when I leave the truck and we go on our hikes, I always shut the heater off. Just makes me more comfortable. So I'll shut it off. Some days I'd shut it off in the morning. We'd go for our hike. We'd come back here. It's cold. So we were going to stay inside all day. And after a couple of hours of being inside and being chilly, I finally would just turn the thing back on. And so then it would run all afternoon and then all night into the next morning. But this setup that I have right now, I've had 0 issues with the heater, with the pump, with the filter. It runs off my main fuel tank, and it's such a seamless comfort and such I don't have to think about it. I reach over and I click the on button, and that's it. And then we have heat, and it runs so well. It doesn't put out really any fumes. The only time you ever smell it outside is when you're first starting it and when you're shutting it off. When you're running it and when it's running, you don't really smell anything. I mean, you've got to get right up close to the exhaust pipe to smell anything. So they don't make a lot of noise. The clicking of the pump, like it's running right now. There, I can hear it. I have to listen for it. Any noise in here, like even when the refrigerator clicks on and runs, is just about enough to totally cover the sound of that clicking. Any video, anything will cover that noise. I sleep, the heater's right under me, and the pump is basically, outside under the truck, like right here, right under where I'm sleeping. Here it is, and this is running. The only warmth you feel is here on the output side, and this has been running for 13 hours, and there's no fear of like overheat. Everything is. This is cool down here. This is the air intake side. It draws the air in back here, and you see I drilled these vents here for air intake. Draws the air in back there, runs it across the running little diesel engine in here, and then blows hot air out here. So this is warm down here, but still I can touch everything. It's not like hot. It's just warm. And then down here it's actually cool, where it's drawing in the cool air. I think they're just a really neat little system. Tucked in there nicely. Doesn't make a lot of noise. And yes, it's dusty under here, isn't it? But you want to clean? I'm trying to get in front of your heater. I sleep right through it. I don't hear that thing. Any kind of little noise will totally cover it, and then I have to point my ear at it and really focus to hear the clicking. It's like right now it takes a few clicks for me to even pick up on it. Now once I pick up on the click, then you can kind of tune in on it and hear it, but it's not loud. So it's 35 degrees. I just checked. 35 degrees outside right now. And in here, I'm guessing it's in the 70s. I've got the window open. So what I do with this heater, and what I've been doing, even these nights when we've gone down below 30, I leave the window cracked. And it just allows a little bit of air movement in here, because I like to turn the heater on before we go to bed. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night cold and then reach over and turn it on. I've done that before, and it just disrupts my sleep. So I found that it's better if I turn it on when I'm setting up the bed. I'll turn the heater on, and I open the window halfway or more, and because it's still, let's say it's 50 degrees when I turn it on outside. So it's not super cold in here, but I just want to have the truck warm for the whole night. So I'll turn it on, open the window a bit, and we go to bed. And then sometimes, you know, I wake up early, like 4 a.m., and I'll wake up in the morning and reach over and close the window, because now it's really cold out and I want it to be a little warmer in here, because now I'm awake and up, and I'll shut the window and let the heat come up even more in here. So it's just... It runs so well. It keeps us so comfortable. You know, I think back to like using the propane heaters, and man, is that just, you know, I couldn't go to sleep with a propane heater running. You know, my brain won't let me do that. It's not safe. And so it was always fire up the propane heater, warm everything up way too warm, and then turn it off, and then you go to sleep and you wake up in 2 or 3 hours freezing because all the heat has dissipated. That was terrible. And in comparison, this heater, especially running off the main fuel tank of the truck, I couldn't tell you. I have people ask me a lot, how much fuel does it use? I can't tell you, because it's negligible on the needle of the truck. You know, I just put in 10 gallons yesterday to keep it at about a half a tank. But my gas gauge, you know, it's a 55 gallon gauge, a 55 gallon tank. So I don't know how much this thing uses. It's not a lot. I haven't put fuel in the truck for 3 weeks, I'm gonna say. And I always keep it at about a half a tank. I don't like to drop below that. How accurate that needle is, I don't know, but this thing will run for days and days and days and days, this heater, you know, and you barely see the gas gauge move at all, because it is such a large tank, and this thing doesn't use a lot of fuel. I have absolutely zero concern that I'm ever going to run my fuel tank empty using my diesel heater. Someone commented on that when I first tapped into the main fuel tank, and it's just a 55 gallon tank, half filled. Let's say I'm at 25 gallons, okay? This heater could run for, you know, I use it half a day, so it could run for, what, a month and a half before I would get near emptying my fuel tank, and I'm obviously going to be in town, and I'm going to put fuel in that period of time. So I have zero concerns that I'm ever going to run the tank low enough to be a problem. And those of you that are out there planning your rig and building your rig, installing a diesel heater, it might seem like it's a complicated installation, but it's really not. It's really not. I would recommend doing it in a location similar to what I have. The great thing about ambulances is you have a lot of flat surfaces to mount it to, as opposed to a van that sometimes has a formed floor with ridges and such in it, because it needs to be mounted on a flat surface. They include like a metal mounting plate, so if you're in a vehicle that has ribs and things, you can cut out a big area of that and then mount in that flat piece of steel that they've included, and then that becomes your flat mounting spot. I use that as the template for marking the holes and such. So you've got to drill 2 holes. They're about 1¼ inch diameter. One's for the exhaust, one's for the intake. You've got to drill a third, like 1/4 inch diameter hole for the fuel inlet. And then you've got 4 like 1/4 inch diameter holes that the bolts, the mounting bolts, go through. It's really not difficult. And then you're running power, you're running positive and negative power to the wiring harness that it comes with. That's it. Tapping into your main fuel tank, that's probably the biggest challenge. And there's multiple ways you can do it. You can use a T-junction on your fuel line where you cut your fuel line, you put in a T, and you're feeding off of that fuel line. That's one way. A second way is like I've done it. There was an unused bong right on my fuel tank, and I put a threaded barb in there and tapped right into that. And then the third way is some tanks on their sending units where the mount is on the top of the tank, some of them have an unused hose barb on them where you can tap in up there. So you have options, but that's probably going to be your most difficult part of the installation. The rest is simple. Now, any reputable or competent shop should be able to tap into your main fuel tank for you and come up with the best way to do it in your rig. Many rigs are different. So each one is going to have its own little way that's the best for that rig to be installed. For mine, it was using that unused bung that was on my tank. That was a simple way for me to do it, and it's worked flawlessly. And I guess what I'm getting at is that I want to really encourage everyone to seriously consider putting in a diesel air heater. You will love it. I'll guarantee you'll love it. It's thoughtless. You don't have to put any thought into it. I've been running this one, like I said, for over a year. Totally problem free, maintenance free, runs like a champ, keeps us so comfortable in here. Lefty sprawls out on the floor in front of that heater with his belly pointing towards it. He loves that thing. When I say I'm turning the heater on, he gets happy. When we jump in here and it's cold and I say I'm turning on the heater, he gets happy because he knows what's coming, that nice warm air. So I really recommend everyone seriously consider it. Don't put it off because you think it's a really difficult install. They're not expensive. They're zero maintenance once they're installed. And I'll guarantee you'll love it once you get it in there. And you really just can't beat the comfort, the absolute dry warm air that these things produce. I mean, come on, I've got to open the window because it'll warm us up too much in here. But right now, 35 degrees outside and we're just super comfortable in here, drinking coffee, watching videos, and waking up to the day like we do every day. If you're not sure what to look for, I have it in my Amazon list. I have a diesel heater just as an example. Like I said, I bought mine originally off of eBay for a lower price. So if you scoot over to eBay, you can find them also. And you're going to want one with the controller. They do come with different controllers. I like the controller I have. I would recommend this controller. There's others that are just a simple dial, but I like this digital one. It also has a remote. If you want, you can stop and start the heater and change the temperature with the remote. I think it came with 2 remotes, actually. Excuse me. Dude. I guess that's time for the video to be done. So that's where we're at with the heater. Really think about putting one in your rig. Everybody take care, be safe. We'll see y'all again really soon. Hello. Did you find your spot? Right against my pillows, huh? Hello.